and the input in terms of designing and providing good ideas on the content on these continued programs. So today we support the improved quality of the electoral administration. We have here the INEC chair with us. We support the National Assembly and their work on legislation. We support enhanced pluralism and the role, the pivotal role of the political parties in the country. The internal party democracy must and should be a part of the support. We support the fair and ethical coverage of electoral processes by the media. And last but certainly not least, we support the role of youth, women, and some marginalized citizens. We had a wonderful message this morning from the Albino Foundation that for the first time find support for their participation in electoral processes in Africa through this program. So we understand by the mere design of this program, ladies and gentlemen, that the chain is never stronger than its weakest link, and that it is vital to have the participation of all the different stakeholders participating in this, and not operating in silos or in isolation, but reaching out to each other so that we will see a redoubled impact on democracy consolidation in the country. And I must say, if there's any secret to the success of this program, Your Excellencies, is building on national ownership, it's building on national leadership. And I think that while recognizing that there are still some challenges, we also need to recognize that a lot has been done. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chair of INEC, I think you have conducted around 170 elections since 2015. This is really not an easy task. I'm sure that there are election commissions from many European countries that would shiver, if not crumble, with such an enormous challenge ahead of them. So we see consistent progress in terms of the Nigerians being able to manage these processes, to the extent that it is our hope that they will provide not only the leadership within the Nigerian borders, but as has been increasingly the case, also beyond the Nigerian borders, of course on the continent, but also on the world stage. So, Your Excellencies, it is our aim to contribute to the reinforcement of democracy in Nigeria and beyond through building strong, effective, and legitimate democratic institutions anchored in the priorities of the Nigerian government, and of course, as it has been said, building on the recommendations of the European Union Election Observation Mission from 2015, which was followed up only in October last year by a follow-up mission led by the same member of the European Parliament, Mr. Santiago Fisas, where again very important issues were stressed, such as the importance of the timely adoption of amendments to the Electoral Act. We know that ECOWAS establishes that 6 months before the general elections, these new amendments need to be in place, giving more optimal conditions for INEC to do their job. The robust training of stakeholders, a strong collation and transmission system, better internal party democracy, promotion of women participation, securing an apolitical and neutral role for the security forces, for main political actors to commit to minimum guarantees ahead of the elections, and I must say, last but not least, more transparency in the funding of political parties and in political campaigns. We all know and commend the government for putting on top of the agenda the fight against corruption. If this has to be really efficient, the lesson learned worldwide is that one of the best places to start is looking at the very political system. So without a doubt, there's still a lot to do on that. To secure the success of this cannot be done by the European Union. We are merely the facilitators. We are merely your partners. So we are partnering with the national institutions. Every design has been done with the Ministry of National Planning and Budget, with INEC itself, with the civil society here, and we are partnering with 10 different institutions, national and international, to make sure that we have the best possible team to make this a success. So, of course, ahead of the 2019 general elections, Nigeria is at a very pivotal moment that allows the country to take important steps towards improving the electoral processes. And the European Union will continue to partner with the government and civil society alike with a view to enhancing the quality and participation of all Nigerians in these very important processes. We are particularly happy to see the participation of women, youth, and vulnerable groups in this project. I can't help thinking that seeing the women of Nigeria, they are the strongest that I at least have met in my decades of trajectory as a diplomat. I see a lot of dynamism with the youth in this country. So not including these groupings more in the democratic processes would be a huge loss. But above all, I must say, a desire for Nigeria to have increasingly, as we promote in Europe also, political cultures where it is less about getting to power and more about what the power should be used for in terms of provision of services and rights for all the Nigerian citizens. So in concluding, I wish to thank all of you for coming. Thank you in particular to the INEC chair, to the representative of the Ministry for National Budget, and also to all of you civil society representatives here, all ambassadors for this new and very important program in promotion of democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the EU Ambassador, Ambassador Ketil Karising. Well, there's a tradition in Africa that when a family is set to eat and the father is not at the head of the table, then the meal will be delayed until the father comes up. We were actually supposed to delay before eating our meals, but I guess out of so much eagerness, we decided to call on the EU ambassador to speak even before he was meant to speak. We apologize for that, but all the same, thank you so much, Ambassador, for talking to us. All right, let's recognize some of you. We have some representatives and some who have come in person. From the Embassy of Poland, Maria Francis Lonaitre. Embassy of Venezuela, I beg your pardon. Maria Francis, thank you so much. She's here. Please, may we recognize her with a hand of applause. Thank you. And we have from the Embassy of Sweden, Robert Kela. Thank you. We have the senior special assistant to the President on Disabilities, Dr. Samuel Ankeli. He's here with us. Thank you. We also have from the Embassy of the Republic of Korea, Mr. Young Min Song. Thank you so much, Mr. Song. And we have from Governance Advisor DFID, Ms. Antoinette Grant. Thank you so much for coming. All right, let's me now welcome on stage Mr. Jose Manuel Pinto Teixeira. He's the European Center for Electoral Support Vice President on stage. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, everybody. His Excellency, the Minister of Budget and National Planning, here represented by the Special Advisor, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the chairman of the Independent National Election Commission, His Excellency the Ambassador of the European Union, Ketil Carlson, distinguished representatives of the Nigerian government and institutions, Excellencies, ambassadors and representatives of the diplomatic corps and international organizations, representatives of civil society, representatives of the media, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to be here today in Abuja, the capital of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Africa's most populated nation and largest democracy, a country of diversity but also unity, praised for its ability to manage political transitions as demonstrated in the last electoral process. Having recently joined the European Center for Electoral Support, ECES, as its vice president, coming from many years of service with the European Union, among an important part of which in Africa, the continent where I was born and raised, I am honored to take part in the launch of the EU support for democratic governance in Nigeria on behalf of all the implementing partners of this program. In this context, I wish to express our profound appreciation to the European Union through its delegation to Nigeria and the Ministry of Budget and National Planning as the National Authorizing Officer of the European Development Fund for giving us the opportunity to implement this program, which has 5 interconnected components, namely Component 1, support to the INEC implemented by ECES, who is also contributing financially to this component with 5% of its budget. Component 2, support to the National Assembly implemented by Policy and Legal Advocacy Center and Youth Initiative for Advocacy, Growth and Advancement. Component 3, support to political parties implemented by Policy Development Center of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. Component 4, support to media implemented by Institute for Media and Society and International Press Center. And Component 5, support to civil society implemented by BBC Media Action, Albino Foundation, Clean Foundation, and Westminster Foundation for Democracy. We are proud to be associated with the main objectives of the support to democratic governance in Nigeria, which seeks the reinforcement of democracy in Nigeria through the enhancing effective and legitimate democratic institutions achieved by the cumulative actions within the 5 components. The program covers the period from 2017 to 2022, and all its actions are designed to be in line with the priorities of the Nigerian government and partner institutions and the recommendations of the EU Election Observation Mission of 2015 general elections. As such, the program is well placed to complement the commendable steps already taken towards democratic consolidation in Nigeria. Electoral processes are indicators of a country's democratic maturity and its ability to manage political competition and the people's right to choose their leaders at regular and predictable intervals. Electoral processes require tact and responsibility from all stakeholders involved, with the electoral management bodies playing the leading role. Our work revolves around building on the already notable resources and tools developed to safeguard the integrity of the electoral process in Nigeria. This program is being launched ahead of the 2019 elections, knowing that for many stakeholders, including the electoral management bodies in Nigeria, elections are regular and continuous events, given the many by-elections that have been taking place so far. It is gratifying to note that the program has emerged in response to the overarching demands to increase participation in the democratic process through a well-assembled program that contains 5 key areas of intervention. The program adopts a comprehensive, integrated and sustainable approach in ensuring that democratic processes are supported in a holistic and inclusive way. Vitality of the democratic process does not lie in elections or activities of election management bodies alone, but rather in the concerted efforts and interactions across key actors such as political parties, civil society, legislative, media, security forces, and others. The program and component 1, concerned with electoral support, seeks to improve capacities of all relevant actors to contribute to democratic processes and outcomes. ECES draw on its strategy developed together with a network of notable civil society organizations called the European Partnership for Democracy, entitled European Response to Electoral Cycle Support. This is an innovative delivery mechanism to implement electoral and democracy assistance activities. It adopts an inclusive approach towards a wide range of electoral stakeholders in order to ensure comprehensive and sustainable actions, and it is built to help prevent, mitigate, and manage electoral disputes. All implementing partners have found a cooperative and proactive partner in the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria. The commitment, innovativeness, and resourcefulness of the INEC chair and team of national commissioners provides a sound basis for a fruitful collaboration within this program. The responsiveness of INEC towards the European Union Election Observation Mission of 2015 recommendations is encouraging for the consolidation of the democratic process in Nigeria. Effective implementation of this program requires coordination and information sharing across the 5 components. Activities under the components are cross-cutting and mutually reinforcing. Towards this end, a series of bilateral and multilateral engagements among partners have commenced with the aim of maximizing program outcomes by constantly seeking synergies. From the interaction so far, it is clear that all partners have unique areas of strength, resources, and networks that can be collectively deployed to reinforce democratic governance in Nigeria. With the track records of all implementing partners, we are confident of the successful implementation of this program. Lastly, the implementation of the support to democratic governance in Nigeria will not only benefit from the shared experience of its implementing partners, but also from regional and global best practices and peer lessons. In this framework, it is worth informing that the program will support the organization of an international conference on the opportunities and challenges for the use of technology in elections. The conference will be held here in Abuja from the 9th to the 11th of April 2018 under the leadership of INEC's chairman, who currently holds the presidency of the network of electoral management bodies in the ECOWAS region, ECONEC. In order to foster exchanges and comparative experiences within the electoral management peers, the participants will not only come from the ECOWAS region, but will also comprise the EMBs from SADC countries. Once again, I wish to express our sincere appreciation to the European Union delegation and the Ministry of Budget and National Planning of Nigeria for giving the implementing partners of this program the opportunity to contribute to supporting democratic governance in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jose Manuel Pinto Texera, the ECES Vice President. Well, just because there are so many distinguished guests here, we would like to recognize the presence of members of the diplomatic community, particularly the European ambassadors, European Union ambassadors here present. Also recognize the presence of development partners, that is the UNDP, the DFID, and USAID, as well as others. We also recognize the Senate President, who is represented by Dr. Samuel Ankeli. Thank you so much for coming to the launch of the EU project on the support for democratic governance in Nigeria. Well, join me to welcome on stage the man with so much burden, if I may say, because we heard the EU ambassador, Ketil Carlson, talk about the number of elections he has had to conduct since 2015. It is no mean feat. I mean, considering some of the challenges, the terrain, the political dynamics, the political parties, and all of the drama that goes on ahead of every election, be it local government or state government elections. Every challenge that is encountered, even at the local government elections, is blamed on only one person. Join me to welcome that one person. He is the chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu.
Elections after elections after elections, but as the saying goes, practice makes perfect. The last 3 elections we conducted in 3 different states of the Federation were conducted about 3 weeks ago. Now the question is, when is the next election? The next election is in 9 days in Katsina to fill a vacant federal constituency seat. And then when is the next one? The next one is in Taraba State, where unfortunately a member of the State Assembly recently lost his life. And therefore, we have to go back to Takum State constituency in Taraba State. By the time we conclude these elections, it will be 180, and then on July the 14th, we have Ekiti. September the 22nd, we have Oshun governorship elections. So it is walk, walk, and walk every day. In fact, the EU ambassador is right, because when I visited Germany and had the opportunity to discuss with my counterpart, the chairman of the German Electoral Commission, is called the Federal Returning Officer. And I enumerated all the challenges. He looked at me startled and said, "How do you cope?" Said, we'll continue to do our best. For 2019, we are going to conduct elections into 1,558 constituencies nationwide, made up of 1 presidential constituency, 29 governorship constituencies, 109 senatorial districts, 360 federal constituencies, 991 state constituencies, and the tenure of the area councils in the FCT will be expiring next year, and therefore will combine with the 2019 general elections. We have a total of 68 constituencies. These elections will be conducted in 120,000 polling units, 8,809 electoral wards. We have 74 million registered voters as of today, but we are already inching close to the million mark for new registrants registered only in the last 3 weeks. And we are going to continue with the registration as provided by the Electoral Act until close to the elections. We have 68 political parties in Nigeria today, but in addition to that, we have about 100 applications from associations for registration as political parties. And there is a proposal from the National Assembly for independent candidacy Once that happens, we can imagine the size of the ballot paper. And then, of course, we have challenge with the terrain, logistics, security, and the management of elections generally. We'll continue to do our best, but we can't succeed without your support. Your support is really critical. We are not conducting elections for ourselves. INEC is not a political party. We are conducting elections on behalf of all and on behalf of democracy. So your support is very, very critical. The second dimension of our work is to support other electoral commissions within the sub-region to also conduct credible elections. As the Vice President of ECAS said, I'm also holding the rotating presidency of the ECOWAS network of electoral commissions. The 2015 general elections in Nigeria was really a turning point, not just for Nigeria, but for Africa. And we have been receiving a number of delegations from so many countries in Africa asking to come and study or understudy Nigeria's INEC. I remember the Cameroonians came not long ago. What they wanted from us is how to conduct a biometric voter registration. We have supported the Sierra Leoneans of late, the Liberians for the last general election. It was the work of INEC, technical work, that actually cleaned up the voter register, leading to the successful conclusion of the second round of the presidential elections. And also, the Somalis are coming. They haven't conducted elections, only God knows since when, since 1960-something. But there is a brave woman, one of the bravest women on the continent. She lost her husband to the trouble in Somalia, but returned to the country to accept to serve as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. I call her the bravest woman. They want to come not only to understudy INEC in terms of the technical processes, but also to participate in some of our commission meetings. We hold weekly commission meetings. They are starting from the scratch. We also received a request from the Sudanese to come and understudy the processes of party registration, because they're also trying to open up the democratic space in Sudan. And it is in this context that the statement made by the Vice President of ECAS comes in handy. ECAS is supporting INEC through ECONEC to organize a major continental discussion. It's going to hold in Abuja in April, involving all the electoral commissions of the West and Southern African sub-regions. And I hope also ECAS will extend a helping hand to bring in the Somalis and the Sudanese so that they benefit from the interaction not only with INEC Nigeria, but also the electoral commissions within the sub-region and beyond. So let me extend my profound appreciation to His Excellency Ambassador Ketil Carlsen, the EU head of delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS, for inviting me to this formal launch of the European Union support to democratic governance in Nigeria project. This is yet another demonstration of EU's enduring commitment to the promotion of the rule of law, good governance, and democracy in Nigeria. The EU SDGN support program, which was conceived under the National Indicative Program 2014 to 2020 and funded through the 11th European Development Fund, is aimed at consolidating democracy in Nigeria. Although the basic indicators for the project derive from the recommendations of the EU Election Observation Mission report on the 2015 general elections, several national stakeholders made significant input to its formulation. The strategic areas of intervention in the project, including support to INEC, were therefore carefully developed in close consultation and collaboration with all relevant stakeholders. The EU and other development partners have made notable contributions in supporting INEC to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of the Commission. For our part, we will continue to cooperate and work with the EU, as well as other development partners and all stakeholders, to ensure the consolidation of our electoral processes, as well as the integrity and credibility of electoral outcomes based on the will of the people and the rule of law. The Commission will continue to support our partnership with the European Center for Electoral Support, ECES, which is saddled with the responsibility of implementing EU support to INEC. We will work with all the implementing partners towards promoting credible elections involving the full participation of all segments of society, irrespective of age, gender, or disability. INEC welcomes support from the international development partners in the areas of voter education and sensitization, training and capacity building for Commission staff, officials of political parties and security agencies, the promotion of inclusivity, in particular, the role of women, youth, persons with disabilities, and internally displaced persons, as well as conflict mitigation. In this context, I wish to seize this opportunity to place on record our appreciation to the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, for sending a UN needs assessment mission to Nigeria in response to INEC's request. We welcome the presence and good work being done as we speak by the mission headed by Mr. Serge Gakwandi Kubimana, our friend from the Republic of Rwanda. So today's project launch is unique. I wish to express our appreciation to the EU delegation for the formulation of the SDGN project, and it is my expectation that the implementing partners will continue to work in synergy to deliver the envisaged support to all targeted beneficiaries in order to further strengthen democratic institutions and the electoral processes in Nigeria. We are all the more excited because the EU SDGN project being launched today is expected to be implemented from 2017 to 2022, which coincides with the implementation time frame of our own strategic plan and strategic plan of action, 2017 to 2021. Once again, let me reassure the EU delegation to Nigeria that we will spare no effort in improving the credibility of elections and the consolidation of democracy in Nigeria. INEC will continue to welcome international election observation missions. The Commission considers the deployment of such missions as an important means of enhancing public confidence and trust in the electoral process. We have already released the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2019 general elections. We hope that interested international election observation missions can commence early planning for the deployment of observers. The Commission is ready to facilitate the process in accordance with our guidelines. And the EU ambassador will bear me witness that the Commission has already invited the EU election observation mission to the 2019 general elections in Nigeria. Before I conclude, I want to seize this opportunity to assure all present here and all Nigerians that the 2015 election was a watershed in the history of our elections, but our commitment is that the 2019 general elections is going to be better than the 2015 general elections. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chairman INEC Mahmoud Yakubu. Just as we told you, like I told you earlier, that we cannot independently recognize everyone here, but would like to recognize, of course, there is no election without political parties. There is no election without political associations. And so would like to recognize the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. It is the umbrella body of all the registered political parties in Nigeria, which of course is led by Honorable Mohammed Lawal Nalado. He's the national chairman of IPAC. And all the national ESCOs of IPAC are all here with us, so join me to welcome them. We also have some representatives we have Innocent Ona. He's the Special Assistant to the President of the Senate on NGOs and Development Partners. We have Honorable Stella Ungu, Chairman, House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development. So,
the representative of the Senate President, the EU Ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Ambassador Kittel Carrison, the Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the President, the Vice President, European Center for Electoral Support, Mr. Jose Manuel Pinto de Zierra, Commissioners of INEC here present, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors here present, representatives of the Diplomatic Corps here present, international non-governmental organizations, governmental organizations here present, representatives of political parties, civil society organizations, members of the print and electronic media, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you warm felicitations from the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udoma Udoma, who would have loved to be here with you, but is otherwise engaged in other national assignments, and I've asked that I should represent him here and to also read his goodwill message. I am delighted to be with you this morning at the occasion of the formal launch of the European Union Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria project, 2017 to 2022. Today's event is worthy of note in that it marks the end of a rigorous process of identification, of consultations, of dialoguing, and formulation, which culminated in the endorsement of the financing agreement for the project in June 2017. Let me acknowledge and commend the untiring efforts of the EU and INEC and the relevant staff of my ministry for ensuring that we attain the necessary deadlines and milestones in the process. The current administration is fully committed to improving the country's electoral system through the fight against corruption and unethical practices in electoral processes. We are committed to improving the transparency of the electoral process, to improving the acceptability of electoral outcomes, and to leveraging on the digital-led growth strategy of the ERGP to deepen the use of technology in the electoral process. Let me once again express the sincere appreciation of the current administration to the EU through His Excellency, the Head of Delegation and Ambassador of the EU to Nigeria and the ECOWAS, for the EU's continued support to Nigeria's development efforts in various fields over the years, and to specifically acknowledge your interventions in the Northeast, which have in no small way helped in the amelioration of a very challenging situation for the country. I also want to thank the INEC chairman and his team for a job well done, and to urge that no effort should be spared in ensuring that we attain a much higher level of implementation of the EU SDGN than we did under the previous intervention. Listening to the INEC chair in his opening statements, I really wonder how he sleeps. That is why I want to call on other development partners to assist the INEC in this process. The job is enormous. The resources are quite thin. And therefore, if we contribute our small quotas, it will make quite a substantial impact. INEC has the personnel, the expertise, and the wherewithal to deliver on this. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your kind attention and to wish us a most successful launching ceremony. I thank you.
Right, as the Special Advisor to Honorable Minister Bassey Akpan-Iyong. Please permit me to also welcome the Director General, NIPS, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru Jonathan Jumar. Also here with us is Honorable Oboro, Chairman, House Committee on Women in Parliament. We also have the Deputy National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, representing the National Chairman, Dr. Emmanuel Abo. Thank you. Well, it's time now for us to set the tone for the formal unveiling of the project. And we will show a short clip, a very short clip on the project shortly. So we do have, very shortly, you would watch on your screen, a short clip to set the tone for the unveiling, formal unveiling of the European Union support to democratic governance in Nigeria. Thank you. Can we?
History of Nigeria when she dreamed of independence. October 1st, 1960, the streets were filled with jubilation. Green, white, green, a common color for everyone. October 1st, 1960, my beloved country, Nigeria, became an independent nation. The inauguration of a new electoral management body in June 2010 brought some noticeable improvements to the 2011 general elections. The 2015 general elections, which saw a peaceful transition of power from the ruling party to the opposition party for the first time in Nigeria's history, was largely seen as credible, showing a progressive improvement in the electoral system with great support from the country's international development partner, the UNDP, managed joint donor basket fund, in which the EU was the largest contributor, played an important role in promoting transparent and credible electoral process and deepening the channels of civic engagement. In order to consolidate these improvements and guard against possible reversal, the EU EOM report on the 2015 general elections made 30 specific recommendations to promote and deepen the sustenance of democracy and democratic governance in Nigeria. The EU has provided funding to the tune of 100 million euros in support of Nigeria's electoral process since the return to civil rule in 1999. Going forward to the 2019 elections, it is therefore a priority for the EU to continue supporting the process of electoral reforms that would enhance the capacity of Nigeria's national institutions to discharge their statutory duties in an efficient, unbiased, and non-partisan manner. In pursuit of this goal, the EU, in partnership with the government of Nigeria and key stakeholders, designed the EU Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria, informed by the 30 EU EOM recommendations with specific focus on 5 key components, which includes: Component 1, support to the electoral management body, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is implemented by the European Centre for Electoral Support, ECAS. This component seeks to improve the quality of electoral administration in Nigeria by supporting INEC's strategic planning, policy framework, and operational capacity and systems, enhancing INEC's capacity for efficient internal communication, including communication with external stakeholders, improving the quality of the register of voters, training and institutional capacity building of staff. Component 2, complemented by the Policy, Legal and Advocacy Center (PLAC) at the Youth Initiative for Advocacy, Growth and Advancement (YAGA), seeks to strengthen the democratic system by ensuring that the National Assembly effectively discharges its legislative function in compliance with democratic principles and standards. Component 3, support to political parties, is implemented by the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, and it seeks to enhance pluralism, tolerance, internal democracy, and equality of opportunity of political parties and the political party system. Component 4, support to media, which seeks to promote fair, accurate, and ethical coverage of the electoral process by the media, including radio and social media, is implemented by Institute for Media and Society and International Press Center. Component 5, to be implemented by 4 implementing partners: BBC Media Action, Clean Foundation, the Albino Foundation, Westminster Foundation for Democracy, which seeks to promote initiative for peaceful and non-violent electoral process, inclusive and non-partisan domestic monitoring and observation along the electoral circle, advocacy for inclusivity of women, youth, and PWD in the electoral process, civic and voter education, CSO's liaison with INEC, the National Assembly, political parties, and security agencies.
Now, with that short video clip, ladies and gentlemen, is that time we've all been waiting for, and that is the formal unveiling of the EU SDGN. And join me to welcome the EU Ambassador Ketil Carlson and the INEC Chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, and the Minister, budget and national planning on stage to do the formal unveiling of the EU SDGN. We would like the EU ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Ambassador Ketil Carlson, to say a few words as we unveil the EU SDGN from 2017 to 2021. A hand of applause for the project. Could you please raise it, Ambassador? Raise the placard and join us here on the platform. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, I shall be very brief and just officially now launching this very important project. I wish to thank all of you for coming today for this very important event. The success of this program depends on all of you, so you're really the true ambassadors for democracy today. Thank you very much to our national partners for joining us. Thank you for ECOWAS to giving this priority, and I look personally very much forward to working with all of you to make this a true success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being a part of history. Consolidating democracy in Nigeria, I tell you, is not an easy feat. And we've had all of the stakeholders, the key stakeholders, to make this happen and to entrench democracy in Nigeria. I do know that democracy is a very good experience. It's a sweet experience because it offers a wide-ranging opportunities for citizens to express themselves and project their voices. And this they can do either by joining political parties or by joining political associations. And that is why we do have the EU support to democratic governance in Nigeria to make this happen for the Nigerian people. And I would say a huge congratulations to the EU and, of course, its implementing partners on this project. Well, it's time now for us to invite, join me to invite the Albino Foundation, Jake Ekpele. He will be giving the vote of thanks. Yes, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, permit me and spare me the agony of reeling out all the dignitaries here present, but let me recognize the EU ambassador, my very good friend. We sat together this morning and he compared my skin with his. The only difference is that mine is riddled with freckles. But however, I thank you, sir. I want to thank the Honorable Minister, represented by Mr. Kwenyong, I suppose, and then, of course, my good friend, the chairman of INEC. Please remind the chairman that I was the face of the flag off of the voters registration, and I wasn't paid, so I'll send you my bill. I was not paid for that endorsement, so I'll send you my bill. Having said that, I want to thank you on behalf of all the implementing partners and to say that the vision of the Albino Foundation, which is we envision the society to create an equal opportunity for all persons with albinism. And I'd like to say that today, the major part of that vision is being fulfilled by the EU. Having said that, let me remind all of us that the day we were born, we all cried. When we live our lives so well, and everybody around us, When we're born, we are cried. Everybody around us rejoice. When we live our life so well, when we die, we rejoice, and everyone around us will cry. That's a life of contribution. And today, the EU is fulfilling that mandate. Permit me, as I end, by inviting the independent expert on albinism, who is a UN staff, who sent us a clip this morning to remind the EU delegation in Nigeria that they are fulfilling a parliamentary mandate by engaging the voiceless community, the underserved communities like us. And of course, you know that democracy is incomplete when certain segment of the society is left unattended to. Let me exonerate the chairman of INEC. For the first time, you did so well by engaging persons with albinism in Anambra State. I got the report, and it was well, we were well engaged. So let me leave the independent expert to present his goodwill message, which was sent in from Geneva this morning. Thank you.
Hello there, my name is Ikpawosa Ero. I am the United Nations Independent Expert on the Enjoyment of Human Rights by Persons with Albinism. I am thrilled to hear that there is a project that would be carried out in the area of democratic governance between the Albinism Foundation of Nigeria and the EU, and that to that end, a substantial amount of funds have been made available to carry out the project. This is excellent news because I also just learned that the European Union Parliament last October adopted a resolution number 2868 calling for more support from the EU to African countries facing different levels of problems concerning persons with albinism. The resolution also called for more technical and financial support in that regard. So this is excellent, as it could be seen as a good example and a good follow-up to that resolution. I am very happy to hear about it as a Nigerian and as a person with albinism, and I wish you the very best as you carry out this important work, and I pledge my support as much as I can, and I will be here if you need me. All the best with the project, and congratulations.
Let me please give you a point of correction. When my independent expert mentioned substantial amount, please, if you want to know exactly how much, I'm serious, if you want to know exactly how much the EU is supporting us, we will post it the next few seconds on our website. We're very open. All our annual reports from the very day we started till date is posted on our website, and you have the liberty of going there and see who is funding us, how we're spending it, and if you find any error, please hold me responsible. Thank you.
Well, I think that's a very good way to end the program. I said earlier when the program started that I wouldn't know if the EU ambassador would like me to mention the amount of money they have spent in Nigeria so far. But I see that the social media has created some platform for those who have benefited from the EU to make available some of those numbers, some of those monies that the EU have supported them with. And of course, the Albino Foundation is doing just that. So if you want to know how much money the EU has supported the Albino Foundation with so far, you just visit their website. Right, on that note, we come to the end of this very historic event, the launch of the EU support to democratic governance in Nigeria, and we say a huge congratulations to Nigerians, because this project is for the advancement of democracy in Nigeria and for the projection of the voice of Nigerians. Thank you so much. Well, there's something to bite. If you want to catch a bite, you want to get some water to drink, some entertainment, just outside the hall. Thank you so much. And we come to the end of the program. And please, pardon me. Well, just before we go to catch the bite, let's sing the national anthem. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Outside, you get some water to drink and something to eat. Oh, that was a goof, man.